All right, good morning, cyber traders. Great to see all of us inside the live trading room. Carol, John, Peter, Wendy, Henry, Felix, and all of us just joining us right now there. This Wednesday, October 12th. Great to see all of us back on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. Folks, it's been a pretty interesting morning already. Just familiar name here, PEGY, making another pop, another big push up here after 8 o'clock. It was actually a pretty lackluster pre-market initially, but, PEGY being one of a few different stocks making a solid push here early this morning. So, let's talk about this trade to begin. But great to see all of us, like I said, back on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube. So, for right now, PEGY ended up making a big pop shortly after 8 o'clock. Did any news come out on this trade? That is the only thing I didn't check, because normally anytime there's a big pop, I don't care for the news as much as I care about level 3 and level 4, and just posting that book map link for all of us inside the live trading room and just looking for the big levels from there. So PEGY's been a stock we've been following, as you could see from the daily chart, for really the last now 7 trading days in a row. That's pretty insane. That's a pretty interesting statistic. We don't normally, trade a stock like a small cap energy stock or pharma stock or, whatever sector, we look to follow. Just, cheapy like this, you don't tend to see make like a day over day over day to the point where it's 7 or 6 green days in a row. And now we're following it for the 7th morning here. The PEGY up over 21% for right now. I don't see any news out on this stock, at least from this morning here, Wednesday. So, we don't need to have news out on this trade in order for us to put this on our main watch list. That's for sure. So, PEGY will definitely start off by doing that. Let me just jump to Benzinga Pro here, or I should say Bookmap. Let me just jump to Bookmap here pretty quickly. I'll show you folks what the level 4 looks like right now on PEGY. So this trade ended up holding over the VWAP off a couple of different shakes. I thought it was going to break below it here lower and tank, so it fooled me. I ended up trying to jump in this trade from the VWAP earlier and took a few cents, but I thought it was going to tank. It was chopping around. It wasn't making that big move that you would want to see. And it still technically isn't, although it's a lot stronger here, at least compared to earlier from pre-market or earlier off the VWAP, I should say. So it ended up bouncing back up, couple of shakes from the VWAP, bounced from like 583 up towards a pre-market high so far, right off 618. 618 right there. It pulled back down right now, testing 6 big iceberg level. It had broken over earlier this morning. So, perhaps that could be support coming up. But if it isn't, be on the lookout. I mean, we just talked about it. 6, 7 straight green days in a row, or 6 in a row going for the 7th. You normally don't see that. So, it wouldn't shock me if this is the top of the ride here, and then this begins to spike right back on down. So just be mindful of that. It's already under 6 as we're kind of just looking back at the normal chart here. But yeah, PEGY will definitely put on our watch list, just given we're familiar with it. And, it's possible for another pop, but, I'd be a little pessimistic if we happen to see lower highs and after the market opens, a big breakdown of support. Should that happen, I'd be very pessimistic just about the entire day on this trade. All right. But for Armand and Robert, Brad, Carol, John, Peter, and all of us just otherwise inside the live trading room, let's go from top to bottom now. A couple of other stocks that were making a bit of a push early in the morning. Now, HKD, I did not put this on our pre-market watch list. Myself or Fausto, we like to post our pre-market watch list out to you folks early in the morning. By 7:45 Eastern time, really, I like to have it up the latest. Could there be stocks that pop afterwards? Yeah, of course. But you want to get a list out early so we could plan and prep and know what to look for right at 8 o'clock. Again, there's going to be news coming out at 8 o'clock anyway, but you want to get a good head start. So, of course, PEGY had popped after 8 o'clock. HKD, though, this was a mess early. It popped up early from 48 up to 60. Again, God bless the way I phrased it yesterday. God bless anyone if they ended up, rolling the dice, playing the slot machine there. It's a gamble. It's a total gamble, especially even more in pre-market than regular session. But with saying that, just hasn't really gone much of anywhere. Now, if HKD were to have popped up any higher, well, we know that there is a stock that moves with it, AMTD. And this is the one I at least put on the pre-market watch list. It was a short list. Again, not a whole lot that was like really moving too well prior to 8 a.m., prior to PEGY popping at least. But, with HKD, if that were to have popped up any higher, my assumption with putting the list out that I did was, AMTD would likely go with it. So obviously that hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen a pop in either. But, just given we're familiar with this one as well, I don't mind in terms of like a speculative, stock to put on our watch list. If anything, AMTD, it will probably be near the middle, near the bottom of our list by the end of it all. All right. Now, Fausto had called out this Moderna mRNA. We saw Novavax yesterday, which I'll jump to next, actually. mRNA ended up making a big pop early this morning. Some news came out, I think, between them and Merck. It probably involves a whole bunch of words that I'm not familiar with or I can't pronounce. But it says Moderna shares trading higher after the company and Merck announced that Merck had exercised its option to jointly develop and commercialize personalized cancer vaccine blah, 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 pursuant to the terms of the coexisting collaboration and license agreement. So, hey, big headline that came out and that led to a nice big squeeze up on mRNA early this morning. Obviously, it's really expensive. And when the market opens up, the order book will be pretty thin still. But for anyone that will want to do some calls on this trade, mRNA, this could be a nice one to try and day trade the option. So I'll put this on our main list here at this point, just probably towards the bottom. Now, yesterday, we ended up killing it on Novavax. This one ended up coming really out of nowhere. Made a very similar trend to what you're seeing on mRNA this morning. But Novavax ended up making this big pop over 18. 18 was a big level to watch just from a book map from level 4. There was a pretty big iceberg order there heading into the mid-morning. So really, it was trending up prior to that, but as soon as it broke the highs, broke over that 18, that's what led it to really continue, really make this strong trend and continue to push up higher. But, on this trade, for as much as it pushes up, even as it gets up to 1950.20, you're wondering, when is this thing going to begin to pull back or top off? This was one of the cleanest trends I've ever seen, or at least in a long, long time. I remember a couple of other stocks just from years past, but, Novavax ended up eventually pulling back, but unfortunately, it just kept dropping. There was no bounce back up after that. So, for as much as it ran up for us in the mid to late morning, early afternoon, it was an even better short or as good of a short into the afternoon there. Looking for that higher low, looking for that support play, just never got it. I ended up taking a few break evens and a few different small losses on that, just trying to chase it. Not chase it like in a bad way, but looking for that bounce. For as much as it ran up, it's going to drop, but for as much as it pulls back, you'd like to see a mediocre bounce back up, get a sharp little move back up. Never got it. It was a pretty interesting day for Novavax. But yeah, for this morning early on, I'm not expecting this to move with Moderna in that regard. But, hey, it's trading 84,000 shares in pre-market. If you did well on the stock yesterday, perhaps you could look to follow up with it again this morning. But for right now, I'm not going to put this on our main watch list. I'll put this on my side list. All right, running out of ink here. Let's go from top to bottom now, folks. Let's just see what else we got. mRNA we left off with, actually, I should say. So we'll keep going. MEGL, familiar name, former runner, actually, like a month or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you can see the drop off IPO, but then from there, we traded it on this day here, I recall. Ended up making a big pop and then following the following days after, big drop off. But yeah, not a whole lot to it otherwise in pre-market, looking very spotty. So, you got to be picky and choosy on a morning like this. It's not like the Fed's meeting again or anything this week, but PPI numbers came out this morning. Market led to a bit of a drop at first. And then also tomorrow the CPI numbers are coming out. So that's like the inflationary report. So that will be really important, I feel, not just for the remainder of this week, but really for the remainder of this month. We'll see what's ahead here with the CPI numbers to come out tomorrow. You might just overall have some hesitation in the market today prior. So we'll see what comes of it. I'm not seeing a whole lot left on the gainer side for right now. So we'll hop over to the losers list here. It's sponsored by this water company here. Let's see what we have here. The IMUX, I forgot to go over this at least from the morning, from yesterday at least, ended up making a really strong run up heading into the afternoon. Grinded on up also early in the morning too. Really all day. This IMUX trade was, treating us pretty nicely. At first, it grinded on up, like I'd said, steady trend up off the lows, but it slowed down after 10:30, 11 o'clock, started to go sideways. Really, at that point, you should look for the stock to begin to pull back. Well, it ended up continuing to pop higher, pop a little bit higher, and then heading into 3 o'clock, 3:30. That's really the next prime time hour to try and look to day trade. That's exactly what we go over in class, right? Is it possible that you could have traded this? Yeah, it's possible, but again, that's where I was like thrown off by Novavax looking for the drop off going into the early afternoon. And then here for the IMUX, I mean, well, by 3:30, 3 o'clock, it ended up providing for a better trade, as steady of a trend, but it popped even higher and higher, taking us into the close. Now, with that said, though, what goes up comes back down. What makes the percent gainers list one day often makes the percent losers list the next. So, IMUX, it's actually shortable on my platform, down over 15% this morning, trading a lot of volume early. It looks good as a trade. Is it possible this could make higher lows from here, from pre-market, and push back up? It is. So for that reason, it could be worthy to follow. It's trading good volume, but if it is shortable, it is down 15% for a reason this morning. So should we continue to see the selling coming in after the market opens up, perhaps under 8 in particular, that could lead to another big drop perhaps. So that's something I would watch out for. All right, so IMUX we have on our list already. CCJ, we're actually really familiar with this stock. We've been calling this out quite a bit lately, on and off. Not even off of particular news, just based off the sector. The uranium stocks. CCJ, there was UEC. This one, I guess it's like up 0.5%. Not a whole lot happening there. We have, I think it was quadruple U, if not triple U. Quadruple U here. All right, might just be particular to CCJ. Let me just check the news out for that one. But obviously, given the volume and how much it's down as well, much like the IMUX, we'll definitely throw that on our watch list here either way. CCJ, Cameco shares trading lower after the company announced a $650 million bought deal offering of common shares at a price of $21.95. So that would do it. I didn't necessarily expect that to be the news as much, but the price off $21.95. It looks like it dipped down there early this morning. Hit a low of 22.01. So it fell a few cents shy of that number exactly. It doesn't need to hit that number per se, but given the overall activity, we'll look to follow this first as a potential short, and then maybe even later, should the market look to make a bounce, this could look to make a dead cat bounce perhaps. It's not necessarily bad news that came out, but anytime there's like a common stock offering or a public offering of shares, much like Neil wrote on PEGY, it's to say that they're basically adding more shares to the liquidity. So it's saying that it ended up diluting the stock price, dropped down percentage wise, but this could potentially bounce back up over time, especially like I said, if we have a strong market altogether today after the PPI drop this morning. Am I confident of a bounce? That could be a good question. At this point, the more the SPY drops off, I feel like we'll get like that assumed test of 350 and then the S&P 3500. So, right now SPY's at 357. So that could be something to watch over time. But in terms of today, it's possible. It's possible we get a bounce back up today, and then maybe the markets tank off CPI numbers tomorrow. It's possible. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, though, folks, let's see what else we got across the loser side here. I saw a few stocks actually they were down big the last few days. I guess they're not up as much now. Maybe they dropped off the market early from PPI, but like NEO and Lee, those Chinese EV stocks were gapping up early this morning. They ended up falling flat prior to 7 o'clock, so I didn't really find any reason to put them on our main list. But for right now, not a whole lot to it really. The NEO trade or Lee, the NEO trade definitely looking a lot more active in terms of volume traded, but just a sideless stock for me right now. Same with XPEV. If you personally do well on these stocks, folks, at that point I would look for you to follow it, but that's all to it there. Let's see. So go back to PEGY right now. It looks like the PEGY trade's trying to break back up and over 6. Ended up dipping under the VWAP briefly, but it pushed back above that, pushed back above 6. I'd still be very mindful of a drop off, at least after the market opens up. So one more little squeeze here. Maybe we get the pop, then the drop on the PEGY. But either way, our traders inside our live trading room, we typically wait the first 3 to 5 minutes after the market opens up anyway. You should be out of your pre-market trades at this point already anyway. Give yourself a chance to breathe and a chance to relax and prep these stocks going into the market open, right? You got to be as prepared to trade the market open as well as you were prepared to trade pre-market at 8 o'clock. So for Michael and Neil perhaps, or maybe Bill or Mark or Armand or Carol or Brad, any of us that were here early at 8 o'clock, hey, we should be prepared to trade that 8 o'clock move. You should be as prepared to trade the 9:30 move, the 9:35 move ultimately, right? So with saying that, even after the market opens, we're going to look to wait the first 3 to 5 here at least before we look to risk any capital and jump into any trades ourselves. All right. For any one of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, and of course for all of us inside the live trading room, let me know if you have any questions otherwise here before we wrap up, or any other stocks that you'd want me to look at. PEGY pushing up, not a whole lot pushing down, and not a whole lot pushing upward with PEGY. So that's at least what I got. HPCO, let me jump to that. I thought I covered that one. Did I go over HPCO? I thought I had went over this one. I didn't actually write this down on my notepad, so if I didn't, pardon me there. HPCO, I just saw from Benzinga Pro starting to eke back up a little bit, and you could see it is, breaking back above 350, trying to break back over 356, the VWAP. So, yeah, right now, it's hard for us to ignore this trade, HPCO still at this point. But I feel like it's really top-heavy. This thing needs to really make a big move up shortly after the open. Otherwise, if it snaps down here, I could see this totally dumping off down to 3 or much lower, perhaps, a complete pump and dump type of move. So you don't want to be on the receiving end of that, at least. So that's where I say, just wait a little bit coming up here and wait a little bit after the market opens up before we look to re-jump into any other trades. All right. For all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, if you have any questions, feel more than free to send it over through email. Otherwise, josh@c2trading.com is my email. I always like to post this here at the end of the streams. Fausto should be back on Monday. Got the word from him early this morning. He's able to move around a little bit, feeling just a little bit better. But, he'll be likely back doing the morning meetings and streaming for you folks back on Monday of next week. But with that, though, any questions that you have prior, feel more than free to send over through email, josh@c2trading.com. And then again, for all of us inside the live trading room, Michael, Mark, Bill, Simon, Neil, Robert, Wendy, Henry, and all of us just live there. I will post the list. I got to refill up the old water bottle here, and then I'll be good to go coming up here at the opening bell. Myself and Fausto. Fausto will be back, of course, for all of you folks here inside the live trading room coming up. All right, folks, I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.